Hi, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of the Conversations That Connect Us. I have probably one of my favorite people in the world on this interview with me today. Wait a minute, what is her name? No, I'm just kidding. It's Jill Douglas. Jill is just one of, I've said it so many times, like a hashtag everybody needs a Jill. Jill and I have probably been friends now I was just talking to somebody who you sent my way, and I was trying to figure out if we've known each other 4 years, 5 years, 6 years.
Probably 5 or 6.
I can't remember. Yeah. We met at a point in Jill's life when she was going through a divorce and helped navigate that. And we've become really good friends. And she's just a very inspirational person. And she is now pouring her life and her experiences and energy into the lives of other women. And I'm really excited that she's coming on here to talk about what she's doing. And so that I get to brag on her a little bit. But hey, good morning, beautiful. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. I feel the same way about you. You're a kindred spirit. I love you so dearly.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to come on here with me. And I told a little bit about you, but why don't you share with everybody a little bit more about yourself, where you're from? Because we all know you're not from here. Well, you'll know really quickly because she kind of has a funny accent. And then what do you do for a living?
Well, y'all, let me tell you. No, I'm from north of the Mason-Dixon line. So I am from Michigan originally, moved out to Colorado as quickly as possible. And then I ended up in Georgia. And so I do live in Georgia currently. And what was your question? What do I do for a living? I live. No, I mean, I do, but
I just am.
Right. What I do for a living, and I know we'll get into more of this because it's really what I'm passionate about. Thank goodness I do what I'm passionate about now. But I consider myself an alignment coach for women and help them really just like know who they are, remember who they are, and turn that light that's inside of them back towards them so they can see for themselves, because we all sometimes forget from time to time.
Podcast over. You just straighten it all out. Drop the mic. Time to leave. But you're also, don't forget, I mean, she is a very busy mom.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to remember the 2 children.
I am a mom too. Yes, I am a mom. I do that for my living too. Like, it is part of who I live to be. I am a mom too. I have 2 boys, 14 teenage years, going strong, and an 8-year-old. And they are humans who are developing, and they're wonderful and awesome and challenging all in one. It's great. Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the things that I admire the most about Jill, and hopefully you all get an opportunity to go past this podcast and interact with her and have a conversation, is she's a remarkable person and carries her energy everywhere she goes, but she's also an incredible mom. And just the way that she raises her boys, I'm not going to say their names, but I know them, but I don't want to tell you what your children's names are. One who just turned 14, right? Like just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
She just is very, I've been on the phone with her when we've been talking and consulting and things like that. And one of the boys will approach her, and just the way that she responds to them. She's not one of these, get out of my face, go in the other room on the phone. She takes time. She talks through them. So I'm just encouraging you, if you're just a mom and you want to just interact with Jill in that space. Very, very good mom tips over there. But,
Thank you. Because we all need to hear that from time to time, especially as a solo parent. Like, sometimes you got to hear, hey, you're doing a good job. You're not effing up your kids too much. You're good,
And at those ages, they're not telling you.
Right? They're not yet.
Like, go to the house and Jill's sitting in the yard, rocking back and forth with a glass of wine. We'll be like, oh, you're doing a great job.
Exactly.
Well,
parenting stories is a whole nother podcast
I know,
episode, right?
We have podcasts completely about that. But but I know that you have a lot of just incredible things. Every time I talk to you, there's something else that you've walked through, and you have found a different part of yourself or a different way to help other people. But could you just take a second and share with everybody who's watching something that you're just really excited about that's going on in your life right now?
Yeah, totally. So I'm really excited about this, and the excited where you're like a little nervous and you're a little excited, like riding up the top of the roller coaster, and there's something awesome coming, but you're also like, oh my God, I need to like grab a hold of something because I'm like, wow. So I'm launching this collaborative mastermind called Be Luminous, and it's all about living from your joy and living close to, who you truly are and what you're on purpose for. Because, and I'll share more about this, like, we lose touch of that. Like I said, we wake up one day and we're like, oh my God, am I going through the motions? Like, what is this? Is this all there is to life? And there's a part of us that always remembers that no, there's more to us. But that feeling of blah and stuck and lost and who am I anymore, that just, it happens. And so, this is honestly, part of it is my journey back to me. It's my message for me first of, Jill, stop doing the practical shit all the time and do some joy in your life. Like, really, it's about that. But I know I'm not the only one. And so it's really the collaboration of me leading tools and things that I have practiced, taught, coached, like gotten results from, and walking on my own edge with people who are like, yeah, more cowbell, more joy. Let's do that.
Well, and you are absolutely right. Like, I mean, this is part of the reason why you and I get along so well, is because we've all been through life experiences, right? We have all gone ahead and have kind of navigated our way through something, and our life become the survival guide and the GPS and the roadmap for other people. Yeah. And now you're coming back in and you're sitting and you're pouring yourself and your experiences and, your journey into other people and saying, wait, I already went down that path. It doesn't have good things there. Come this direction, and that's so, we're both Sherpas in that space, where you're guiding people in a new way. But, why do you feel, I feel the same as you, but I want you to explain. I have the word joy tattooed on my leg. So that goes to show you, I believe in joy. But why do you think it's so important to put joy first in your life?
Yeah. Such a good question. And I'm going to back up just a little bit, because I'm sure your audience will get this feeling, but like, have you ever come to a place, like I mentioned, like where you just feel like you're a running machine, you're just going and going, and you're not even always present to feeling yuck. You're kind of just like, I'm doing it. I get up, I go have my coffee, I do my thing, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes if we actually have a moment when we're quiet and still, which most of us avoid because it's uncomfortable, we come to a place where we look at our lives and we're like, I'm exhausted. I'm not doing what I'm here to do. I've put a dream on a shelf for so fucking long that I don't even know if I believe in it anymore. Like, we get to that place. And I got to that place. Like, I mean, the short story, I was married and I was in a relationship with somebody who, it just became very, the word nowadays would be narcissistic, probably, there was alcohol abuse, depression, all sorts of things. And I had completely lost myself. Like, I was very codependent, and I had lost touch with that trust in my own passion, my own fire, my own intuition, my own joy. And so coming out of that, I did begin to know myself more again. But I also, like you said, like, I got into survival mode as a single mom, and having to run the show. And I started a business, and I was like, and not this business yet, but I started a business. And as much as I liked it, I was also like, just doing the steps that, felt like I should. I've always been like a good girl, do the right thing, work hard, do that, put in the effort. And like, I mean, at the beginning of this year, I just woke up. I mean, I was like sitting at my desk, I remember, and I'm like trying to like motivate myself to make some more phone calls and do the things and be with people. And I felt so fake. I felt so exhausted. I felt so not like myself. And I just remember having this thought that, like, life is not supposed to feel this way. It just cannot be made to feel this way. It's not why I'm here. And I had a moment where I was like, I have lived 4 decades of my life like this, and I am not willing to live anymore just half-assing it and like living from a place outside myself instead of inside myself. And from that moment, I really I started learning and discovering like who I am, what I love, like leaning into that, doing more of that. And I have now found things that I love. I wake up feeling like I am doing what I am born to do. And I know that to my core. And no matter what else in life, like if you have that, oh my God, people, you have happiness. And I believe to my core that when you do follow what your joy is, what your natural expression is, that's what you're here to do. That is like your journey on this freaking planet as a human being, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, whether God created you, spirit source, you created you, whatever, like that's why you're freaking here. So to me, joy is your core, your epicenter. Like that's why you're here. It's an expression of what your creator made you to be. And so why would we live any other way? You know, we all have to-do lists. We all have roles and responsibilities, but we get so taken up by that we forget why we're really here. And that's why, to me, joy is like what must become the center of where you live from, because that's what's alive. You know, that's when we're alive.
Well, and thank you for sharing all of that too, because you know, I've been on your journey with you, and the evolution of who you are now and like the standing in your power and doing exactly what you feel like you were led here to do and put here to do is not the Jill that I met.
No, but you saw it still in the beginning. You were like, I saw it. Something in you.
Here's the thing, like I saw it in you, but it took you, just like anybody you're going to help, anybody I help. Yep. It took you to learn and believe it.
You have to walk your own steps to get to yourself.
You absolutely do.
Just like I have, anybody, you have to walk your own steps. Yeah.
And you know, I think especially in everything that we're going through in life, just in life in general, it's just like a weird time. You know, I mean, COVID and all that stuff happened, but I can't begin to tell you how many entrepreneurs were born out of necessity, but also passion, you know, like, hey, I lost my job because of COVID, or because I wouldn't take a vaccine, or because of whatever else. I lost my job, but it actually pushed me. It was what I needed to go and live into of being fulfilled. Yeah. Like, I mean, even what I do, I've been 20 years in the 25 years doing finance, and love it. Very passionate about helping people, but I've been naturally coaching people for over 2 decades. And when COVID hit, and people were calling me, not because of their money, they were calling me because they didn't know what life meant for them now. They didn't know how they were going to make it through this divorce.
Oh, I got chills.
They didn't know how to make it through this divorce, because now I've got to still live in the same house with him because I can't go out and do something. Or now I can't, what am I going to do with my kids? What am I going to do with? So I found myself helping people get to a place of like, don't worry about the past. That's where kind of like the depression lays. If you're looking for the future, that's where the anxiety is. Just be in the present. Take today, learn through today. And coaching is what fulfills me. What you're doing is what you have waited your entire life to do. Yeah. And, you know, so as you're moving people through this journey, and for those people who are watching this is what your experience with Jill is going to be like. You know, I mean, I can honestly tell you, because I've been around her enough, but her energy and helping you make sense of the things. Sometimes we go through stuff, we don't even know what questions to ask ourselves. Yeah. She's going to pull those out. She's going to help you get back in touch, or maybe get in touch with yourself for the very first time, because you're living up to everybody else's expectations in your life. Yeah. And I can help you walk through that.
And I wanted to speak to that too, because sometimes when we're in a place where we're feeling that stuck or that lost, I mean, the feeling is that feeling of overwhelm. Like maybe there is something, but you know, how do I even take the first step, you know, and that we can talk about, but like, I want you to know, if you're listening to this and you're feeling that, but you have some stirring in you, that it's like, you know, there are steps you can take on your own. And, you know, you do eventually have to walk the path on your own, like you are walking it. But, you know, it's so important to have somebody in your corner who can listen to you and hear you and support you, because it is hard, long, dreary, many side roads of crap like along the way when you don't have that. And you stay there longer. And how much more time do you really want to spend, you know, being miserable? Just saying.
Well, and life is too short. You know what I mean? It really is.
It truly is.
And this morning, it's funny because we're talking about stuck. Like, I think you and I are unstuck experts, if that's actually a good title we could use. But I even, you know, I posted about it this morning about being stuck, like getting unmotivated or uninspired, or it's like having gum that's stuck to your shoe and you can't take it off. And one of my clients, it's funny because when I do we have calls and stuff, I sit here with a pen and paper, and if they say something that's like beyond profound, I write it down. And the next time they're struggling with it, I'm like, hey,
Boom.
remember when you said this? But I mean,
So
recently
great.
I was on the call with somebody, she's a successful business owner, and she's a phenomenal person. And she said, you know, having the down moments in your life is fine. Staying stuck there isn't.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I'm going to write this down. And then when she finds herself stuck, I'm like, a very wise person once said,
I love
like,
that.
I know you're talking about me, but it's true. And I think
true.
sometimes when we fall down back into those holes, or we kind of start retreating, it's good to have somebody that's, come on now, let's go. You got to get direction.
Yeah. And it's one of the things I teach too. Discontent is a tool. Discontent shows you where you are not actually living close to your purpose. It's where you're off and there's something else you would love. And so therefore it's a wake up call. It's a sign. It's a road mark. It's like, it's okay. Like, celebrate it. Oh my God, I get to see that I'm not content with this. Great. That must mean there's something more for me. And this is what it looks like right now. But what would I love? You know, it is a moment, just like everything's a moment. And we talk about that. Yeah. Because that's a big one for people. We can let ourselves be taken out by it. But, you know, there are tools you can use, there are tricks you can use, like, you know, a lot of them too, of just like turning that around and making it something better, and not setting up camp there. We don't set up camp.
No camp. You like to camp, and you know more about tents than me. I'd be like, pull up that Mac Daddy RV, but I'm not even like RVing it. I'm not even stuck in that space at all. Well, you know, what does it feel like when you're not truly in alignment with your purpose and, you know, what you are here to do? I feel like we're all here with an assignment. And some of us find out what that assignment is immediately. Some of us have to go through a lot of crap in our lives to get like, no, that's not what I was, you know, meant for you. Yes. So what does it feel not to be in alignment?
Yeah, that's so good. And I want people to listen for themselves, like, to this, just to feel it out, because there's some very common feelings that I believe tell you that you're off alignment. And what I truly believe is that we are here on purpose. We are here intentionally. We have been created with a purpose, with a dream on our heart, with a destiny, something to walk and fulfill. We have free choice. We have free will. We can choose whatever we want and however we get there. And we are eternal beings, in my view. But guess what? You're here for a purpose. There is a message and a dream on your heart that you're here specifically in your unique way to share. And the things you go through in life allow you to speak that message more. Like the message I have, I couldn't have without some of the things. It wouldn't come out the same way without some of the things I've walked through, you know? So when you can feel like, this is how you can tell when you're off alignment with who you truly are, right? So you feel guilt, like guilt with yourself, guilt with other people, like just that heaviness of like, oh, something should be some other way, la, la, la. Discontent, that feeling like this isn't everything. I want something more. There's something here. And then lots of times people feel shame and guilt about that, wanting more, right? Especially women don't want more. Oh, you know, I should just be thankful for everything I have. You should be thankful for everything you have and want more. It's okay to have both. It doesn't mean you're not thankful for what you have, right? That just is one of my pet peeves. It's the discontent, it's the guilt, it's shame, you know, feeling shame about things. That's non-alignment, because that bigger part of you, that source God part of you that is with you too, that part doesn't feel shame. This is part of your journey, what you've walked through. It's sacred. It's sacred work that you have walked through. There's no shame in that, but we all feel shame sometimes, right? Feeling stuck, feeling lost, you know, that feeling of flatlined, you know, I just feel like I'm in the same place, walking through molasses. Like, it's just the most dreary, like your body is like in cement. Like, I don't know how to get out of this. Like, that feeling is just like, you're not being who you're here to be. And there's no make wrong about that. You don't have to feel bad about that. We all have times like that in our lives, and we should have times like that, because you're made to evolve, you're made to grow, you're made for more. So without that nudge, without that feeling of ick, you wouldn't have a pull to grow, you know, to like expand. Like the caterpillar eventually feels like It's not comfortable in this skin anymore. I got to build a chrysalis, you know? And eventually they pull out as a butterfly because that butterfly has actually always been pulling for them to become a butterfly. And your dreams are always pulling for you. Your higher self, your God power is always pulling for you to become who you're here to be. And that's why it feels uncomfortable. And so those are some of the signs that you aren't completely in alignment, and that's okay. Like, just use them as signs and now choose to do something about them or live with them and accept that, hey, I'm just not living in alignment, right? But it's awareness. It's like paying attention too, to notice.
Well, and I think for a lot of people, especially women, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to put yourself first.
Oh my gosh.
Really, really, really is. You figure you've got your kids relying on you, parent to a certain extent, you know, I mean, you've got everybody around you, your boss and, you know, your partner, all these people that are pulling.
We even put our homes ahead of ourselves. No offense, but I mean, your home is something to be important, you know, and care for. But also like, let's get real.
You mean like the days where I'm like running around making sure everything's straightened up because I know somebody's coming over and I'm still in a pair of like pajama bottoms and no bra? You mean those days, like where I'm putting my house in front of me?
Maybe.
You know I mean? See, no, I can't relate. But you know, we both talk a lot about, you know, putting yourself first and loving yourself and all of that. But it's not selfish.
You know, it was so crazy. I love this. I work with mostly women. Just, I think you do too, many women. But the point is, like, I work with a lot of women, and guilt, shame, all that for doing something for themselves is rampant. And to me, it's heartbreaking. And I know because I experience it too, right? Like, first offender. And it's a practice to put yourself first. But I heard this question one time, this was years ago in a course, and this person said this question, and it has stuck with me ever since. What do you allow yourself to desire? And then she said, what do you not allow yourself to desire? And then she said, you know, what would it be like if you just allowed yourself to desire that? Right. And those questions, especially the one of what do you not allow yourself to desire? I was like, whoa, because all of a sudden I remembered like being a child. I grew up, my parents didn't have a lot of money. I know a lot of people can relate to that story. Right. And so in my house, it was like, if you had a want, like that didn't really matter. Like it was like, do you need this? Do you need these shoes? And no, they can't be white, pink high tops because those are going to get dirty right away. And that's just not practical. So let's pick the ugly ones because, you know, and the cheaper ones because whatever. Right. And so I would have to really like do some memory work to like think back to be like, when was the last time I truly like just had a want to have a want? Right. And I think a lot of us come out of homes like that, come out of parenting like that, and from no fault. Like, listen, we all trickle down, right? My mom's mom was part of the, you know, generation with the Depression. Of course, you didn't have money for shit, you know? And then my mom came, you know, when they were young, they didn't have a lot of money when we were all young, you know, things changed and now they do. She has the same conversation. I don't have money, but you have 500 bottles of wine in your cellar, Mom. I'm like, I think you need to stop using that phrase. Okay. You know, I choose to put my money towards it.
Daughter, it's priorities.
And that's fine, but say that. So, right. So like the wanting, the desiring, the selfishness, like if you, coming back to this, I know sometimes I go squirrel brain, but I do have a point here with the selfishness is like putting yourself first is the only person you can ever put first because you're the only person you can ever do anything truly about. And your connection to you and God, not selfish, like I don't give a flying flip about anybody else. You can F off. Not that kind of selfishness that I know gets a bad rap for a reason, but the kind of selfishness of like, I care enough about myself. I love myself fully enough to honor what this self is saying, what my divine guidance and intuition is saying, what my body is saying when I have a visceral reaction of, I don't want to do that. And I say yes anyway. That's not love. It's not love for the other person, and it's not love for you. And that is a slippery slope. And we do it all the effing time. And that is why being selfish in a in a love way, in a self-love way is so key, because then you know what, you can serve at a higher level. You can show up for other people at a higher level, your kids, your spouse, your work, your everything, because you're showing up for you first. And you know what, that's where confidence comes from. And that's where, how do I make more decisions? How do I feel like myself again? Well, no offense, but you fucking do things for yourself. Like, you choose you first. If you're not comfortable over here, you can't feel like yourself. It's one of those things. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it.
Well, and it all comes back to control too, right? Because how many people focus on things that are out of their control completely?
Yeah, because it's easier sometimes.
If you are in yourself, paying attention to yourself, focusing on what you can control, which is this. You can control if you say yes or no. You can control if you put 3 Whopper Juniors into your mouth and order a Diet Coke and do it at the same time. You can control if you walk through this door into another whatever situation. You are the one that controls all of that.
Yeah.
So if you're so worried about this, it's even more important to be worried about, this is what I control. This is where I need my focus.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Totally. And usually when we want to control something outside of ourselves, it is because we're not feeling in control ourselves, right? Most things outside of ourselves are reflections of that which is already in us. When you get triggered, it's not the other person who's triggering you. It's your own unresolved stuff that is triggering you. And the good news about that is that you can do something about that to heal it. But it's not the other person. It's not your ex. It's not your child. It's not the a-hole who cut you off on the road. I mean, I'm calling them an a-hole, and you can say, that person's an a-hole. But if you get yourself up to, heart palpitations and,
right,
then that's in you. That's in you. There's nothing. They drove away. They don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, you're just somebody in the rearview mirror. But that's exactly like, there's a couple quotes kind of with the variety of if somebody is picking at you or criticizing you, it's not about you, it's about them. Because it's true. It's all, we all fight with what we've got going on inside, and ways to get around that, and from confronting or loving ourselves as we start picking or telling other people what they need to be doing in their lives, when we're over here like, imposter syndrome, like you wouldn't believe. We're not walking it, and we're not practicing what we preach. And
parents are classic, unfortunately, because we're like, I'm going to put on my kids that they're going to do all the dreams that I never did. That's not fair. It's not fair to them. You're telling yourself a lie that you couldn't even start now and do it.
Well, let me ask you another question. If somebody listening to this is feeling like they can relate to what you're saying about feeling stuck or frustrated or apathetic, what are the first steps that you would tell them, other than to call you, to feel better about what's going on in their lives?
I love you. If you need me, call me, no matter where you are. Yeah. So the first thing I say is call me. Just call me. Let's have a conversation. But if you don't want to do that yet, okay. The first thing I want you to do is truly take a quiet moment and ask yourself how you really feel, and if you're really happy. And, as you've been hearing some of this conversation between me and Jennifer, you might actually have been hearing things already, right? But if you haven't, taking that quiet time, which again, we cover up with so many things. We cover up with so much busyness or Netflix or shopping or to-do lists or shit that doesn't freaking matter. It doesn't matter. But we do that because it's hard to be radically honest with ourselves. But that would be the first thing to do, is to be quiet and ask yourself the question, how do I really feel? Am I really happy? And you know what? If you're not sure what feelings you have, because I've been there too, where I've been so I'm fine, everything's fine. It's fine. That there's a feelings wheel. You can look it up on your phone. You can look it up whatever. And just put a little dot on the feelings you feel, because they'll pop up for you. You'll be like, I think I feel that. I think I feel that. Oh, I totally feel that. Right. Because it's that little voice that speaks to you quietly that, we sometimes hide from, but that awareness of how you're really feeling is the first step. I remember, like I said, my ex-husband, he dealt with alcohol problems for a long time. And, it's such a slippery slope. sometimes, like a slow slide. And like I said, I had lost myself. I didn't, that I didn't trust myself anymore. And I just lived with some of it feeling so normal that, like, we become not even aware of the water we swim in. Like I said, you get up, you go to work, you do the things, you take care of the kids, you fall into bed exhausted. We don't take that moment sometimes to pause and really look. And I remember, for me, one of my moments was when I was at a birthday party picking up my son, and the parents were like, "Oh, you want to, sit and have a beer before you go back?" And I was like, "Sure." I just walked over, it's fine. And so I'm sitting there, and I already texted my husband telling him, "Okay, I'm just hanging out for a few minutes. I'll be back shortly." And I'm sitting there, and everybody's just casual, having a good time. It's afternoon. Nobody's shit-faced or crazy or anything like that. And I remember sitting around, and two things I'm thinking. One, is my husband going to be mad at me for staying? So that was a warning sign. And two, I was like, this is so normal. Like, this is so interesting. And I was like, I don't live the way other people live. That's so interesting. Like, this would never happen in my household. And so in that moment, I was just like aware, right? In a new way. So that awareness, that noticing, wow, what am I living with in here, is the first step. That was a long explanation of step number one, but I have a couple more for people. And the other thing you could ask yourself is, like, okay, if you only had an hour left to live, like, you're told this diagnosis, or you're at the end of your life or whatever, you have an hour. What is the message still on your heart that you would love to tell people, whether it's your loved ones, whether it's the world, whether it's whatever? Like, what is that thing you still want to say? Because it's in you. That, my friend, is part of your reason you're here, So get clear for you. And then, you know what? Do one thing that matches that message. Mine is you're here to follow your joy. Just do something you fucking love. Like, do what you love. Choose you and do you, right? And so that's one thing I would do. One thing for myself a day. One thing for myself. And the other key component that you've brought up is find a community, find a mentor, find a guide, find somebody you can follow. I highly recommend working intimately with somebody, whether it's a group, a coach like Jennifer, like me, like somebody you trust, somebody who is a few steps before you, right? Who knows, who can hear things, who can support you, who isn't in the muck with you, who but can see, down into the muck and be like, I get it. I'm just not there now, and I know how to get out, right? Find that person. It's the community. It's the structure of support. It's that mentor. If for some reason that intimidates you or whatever, there are people to follow. You could follow me. You could follow Jennifer. You could follow any number of people who inspire you and give some content, and then do the things. And if you're not holding yourself to account to do the things, and you really want to change, you're going to have to find someone to invest yourself with, because it's truly an investment in yourself when we do that.
Well, and I think the people that are, because even for myself, coming through healing to where I'm at a point, or I was at a point where I was really ready to face my life and do exactly what I wanted to do, is that, it's hard to take advice from people who have not been in the trenches, who have not gone. It's like getting parenting from advice from people who don't have children.
Yeah, that's always funny, isn't it?
It's always my favorite. But I learned that because I had gone through abuse, and then, the divorce, and now, like, being paralyzed and going through all these different things in life, that just, until I was able to connect with people that had that parallel experience, or PTSD, or, could sit there and say, I remember the days when I didn't want to be here anymore. But like, what? Me too. I remember. You actually felt that way? I mean, I'm not bashing therapists or counselors, but my experience in that space has been, well, I'm sorry, but I don't really, I can only imagine what you're going through. I need somebody who has been there. I need to work with somebody who understands if I'm on the edge one day, and I just like that, they can understand the point that I'm coming through, and they can give me the ways to intervene to get myself out of that point. And I think the people who are successful in working with people like you and I are the ones that identify in us that this is a judgment-free zone.
Yes.
We have been there.
Yes.
We're like the, Planet Fitness of coaching, right? Judgment-free zones.
Yes.
We have been there. We have walked in your shoes. We have ran into those walls. We have sat in cars and cried. We have done all the things.
Yes.
We get you. And I think that's so important, because I think coming out of COVID, everybody now is a life coach, or everybody is a coach of some kind, and it's hard to kind of go through that. So I encourage people, like, if you're finding somebody to mentor you or to help you, make sure that they are relatable on this eye-to-eye level, not something they learned in a book, not something that they've learned through a friend's experience, something that they have walked through themselves and know what it looks like on the other side, and are there like, hey, it's much better over here. Let me show you how to get it. So I wanted to throw that out, because I've been hearing that a lot from people who find me, that they're at first vulnerable and they don't want to share. And I'm like, you need to understand, like, okay, so how many days this week did you feel like you didn't want to be here anymore? And they're like, well, how would you even, because you've been there. So I think it's important that as people are reaching out to you, that they understand that you're somebody who gets them through it. You can look back on your life and point out where you may have made mistakes or took a longer way around the block, to get to this point, but you've gone through it and you didn't give up at any point in time. Yeah. And it felt like that, but you didn't,
Yeah. No, it's so true, because, occasionally, people ask, not often, honestly, but occasionally people are like, oh, like, do you have any certifications or this or that? Like I said, I think I've been asked that once. And I'm like, my certification is life. It's my life. But here's the thing. And I want people to know this too. Like, I have probably close to a decade now of like actual coaching, teaching, training, like all these skills, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's out the yin yang, right? I can whip out something in a heartbeat. But like you said, and because I've also walked through this, I've walked through the tools, I've walked through the life of being down in the shitter and crying, or like you said, I'm a fan of driving on the freeway and screaming cuss words out because as loud as I can, because you know what? Sometimes you got to let it out, right?
So that means if anybody sees Jill on the highway, she is not yelling at you.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at something that needs to be resolved. But it's like, I've been there. I've been at a place where like, I can't trust myself enough to tell if somebody's been drinking when it acts like it smells like it, looks like all the things. Like, I've been there. And this is not like a, alcohol or divorce necessarily scenario. I'm just talking like I've been in the doldrums. I've been in the pit, and so you're right. It's about relating. It's about relating to how somebody coaches, lives, bees. And I always tell my people too, like, listen, I also am not going to tell you to do something I'm not willing to do myself. Right. I'm not going to do that. Like, that is the most inauthentic, out of integrity feeling. Like, it's visceral for me that I'm like, that's why sometimes awarenesses come to me when I'm coaching somebody, because I'm like, oh shit. I just told him to do that and I'm not doing that. Time to step it up. Like, I call myself to the court, and it's like humbling and sometimes super scary, but like, it's growing too. It's like why we're here. It's, it's what I believe to my core. So, I do it. But it helps me push through those uncomfortable parts myself. That's some of my motivation. Like, if I'm going to tell you to do it, I'm going to walk the talk. I am. So, but you're right. It's about that, has this person kind of walked in your shoes? Do you believe they're the kind of person who can help you with your specific stuff? And, do you like them? Like, I cuss sometimes. If you're somebody who doesn't like cussing, you should probably not work with me, because I'll probably end up offending you a lot of times. And it's okay. I'm not offended that you're not going to want to work with me.
I am from Philly. It's hard for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just hard. It's just, but again, it's about finding that person that you can connect with. Yeah. But if cussing a little bit here and there bothers you, then anyway.
Like, I have children. I know how to not do it, but I'm like,
I do too. My dad's a pastor. So it's like, and my husband and I, every time we go and we're going to visit, I'm like, I'm 51 years old and I don't want to disrespect my mom like that. Anyway, I digress. But, but then I think one time I heard her say, damn, and I'm like, damn, did I just hear that? I'm like, all these years I wasted. No. But anyway, we're getting ready to wrap up here, but we've talked about a lot of stuff, but if there's one thing that somebody could just like one little tidbit of what we've shared that somebody could walk away with, what would you hope that would be that they take away from what you and I've talked about today?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about so many beautiful things. I'd say go re-listen to it and take your nuggets, right? But like, also, I think I would love people to know that, deep happiness and fulfillment in your life, like for you to experience that is truly your birthright. Like you were made to experience that. You were made to experience waking up with your soul on fire, being excited for your day, looking at your life and feeling like, I get to live this life. I get to live this life. That feeling is your birthright. You were born made for that feeling. So again, like Jennifer said, with me, there's no judgment. Nothing to me actually is ever wrong. I come from a space of nothing is wrong here. It's all information and it's all guidance, but we use that information to come back to that feeling of really being here, like settled on purpose, at peace, but energized, right? Because you're doing what you're here to do and you're progressing towards your soul's path, on your soul's path. So to me, that of anything else, like that's what you're here for. And if you're not feeling that, then you get to decide, you get to choose, you have free will, right? You can choose to live with how you're feeling now, or you can choose to change, because it is here for you. It's available for you. It really, really is. So that's what I would love for people to take away, if nothing else. Like that's your birthright. And if you don't have it, you can.
Well, for all those who are watching, this is why everybody needs a Jill. So how can people get in contact with you? Now, I know you had shared with me, don't you have something coming up in December or January? I
do have something coming up. So I'll tell you. So the best way to connect with me is to, set up a one-on-one call. I bet we can post my Calendly link in the show notes, or to send me a message on Facebook. If you don't do social media, email me like jwinkinc@gmail.com, jwinking@gmail.com. I'm almost ready to give out my phone number because I so love and I'm passionate about serving people.
But we're not giving out our phone number right now, Jill.
I know. I'm gonna put it out there, but so the best way is to have a one-on-one call and let's chat. What are you dealing with? And what could your next steps be? I do have a lot of proven tools and curriculum that works for women to go from where you're at, of that feeling of discontent, to really being like, shit, I'm living a life I'm loving and I'm making more progress towards that, right? What Jennifer mentioned, yes, I have the collaborative mastermind coming up. That's going to start mid-December. So I'm also going to host a 3-day free little mini challenge called Made for More, because too, what I hear in so much of this discontent and what I feel for myself when I have felt that is there is something we're made for. We're made for more than this. We're always made for more than this where we're at, right? Because we are always evolving. So it's the Made for More challenge. You are made for more, my friend. And so it's going to be a 3-day event where just like an hour every day, a VIP session that you can choose if you'd like to, afterwards with Q&A with me, where I'll give you, whatever coaching, ask me any question, like all the good stuff. But the first day we're going to talk about discontent and why that's a good sign, how to use it, right? We're going to talk about, and the next day we're going to talk about joy. Like, what is your joy? Do you need to rediscover it? Do you need to trust in it more? We're going to do some exercises that really bring that forth. So that's a really important day, and figure out what you would love, like what's on the other side of that discontent that your soul is really calling for. And then the 3rd day, we're going to talk about how your destiny, actually why you're here, that butterfly version of you, is truly calling forth your dreams, and why we listen and what stops us. Fear is fear. Nobody lives without fear. So we're going to touch on it, because why not? And we're going to talk about some tools there too, and just stepping into what do you want. Be Luminous. It's a collaborative mastermind. It's going to be on the court. It's living from joy. So that's what's coming up.
That's
But
the one
those,
that's in mid-December, right?
that's the one in mid-December. Yep. And the Made for More challenge will come right before it. It's going to be at the beginning of December. I'll send out more information to you for that for your people. But just in case they, miss it or can't come to it, they should still hop on a call with me. I have several other ways to help, but those are the biggest ones. And I like to help people with like what's going to make the most impact for you the fastest, because how long do you want to stay miserable? How long do you want to stay? And listen, when I say miserable, here's what I also want people to hear. Miserable sometimes isn't the like depths of despair, crying on the floor in turmoil, right? That form of suffering sometimes is actually movement towards freedom, because what's really the worst is apathy. What's really the worst is just feeling blah. I don't really care. There's nothing for me to motivate. I get up every day and I go through the things, but why? I don't know that there's anything else for me. That's crushing. That is crushing your soul. And I say that, I'll caveat that with this. Your soul actually is not being crushed, but your ego, your human, your life force here is being diminished by that. And it feels uncomfortable because it's not why you're here. It's not why you're here. So, I can't remember where I was going with that now, but the point is, you heard what I said. It's out there.
So the best thing to do, and make sure that you get me your Calendly link so I can put it.
I will do.
In the show notes but whew, everybody now has permission to take the rest of the day off, because you've gotten as much energy as you need for your day just in this period of time that we've spent together.
Go do something joyful for yourself. Go do something you would love to freaking do. It's your assignment.
And then when you talk to her on the phone, make sure you tell her what it was that you did that she motivated you to do. So
heck yeah.
As always, I love seeing you. I love having you, talking to me. I love to have been a part of your journey along the way. And it's always wonderful to see the evolution continue and how you're moving on and continuing to help people. So I encourage you guys to set up time, talk to Jill. There's so many ways you can interact with her, get into her challenges, get into her collaborative, whatever it else, just take advantage of it. Again, you control the decisions that you make and the decisions that you don't make, because when you don't make them, that's still a decision. So
that's right.
Thank you again, my dear.
Thank you. I love you so much. Thank you, everybody who listened to, and I look forward to serving and connecting with people.
Perfect. And to everybody who's watching, thank you for joining us. And we will be back again with another episode of Conversations That Connect Us. Have a great day, everyone.